Yesterday, Senator Mark Kelly received this letter from Pete Hegseth on a fraudulent piece of stationery, fraudulently identifying Pete Hegseth as Secretary of War, a position that does not exist. It was a letter of censure that is a first step in Pete Hegseth's attempt to punish Senator Kelly for saying exactly what Pete Hegseth had publicly said a few years ago, that military personnel should not follow unlawful orders. Here was Senator Kelly's response to that letter today.
They talk about things I've said between June and December, including that they think it's inappropriate for me to criticize them for firing admirals and generals. Now remember, I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I voted for those admirals and generals to have those jobs, and Pete Hegseth fired those people, in my view, because of the color of their skin and their gender. That's a horrible thing to do, and a horrible message to people out there, that you have to look a certain way to serve this country at the highest level. And I was critical of them in my role as a member of the committee, and they didn't like it. That's one of the reasons they have censured me, and at the end of the letter they threaten criminal prosecution if they don't like what I say going forward. Let me make it perfectly clear. This letter, or anything that Pete Hegseth says or does to me, is in no way going to affect the way I do my job and represent my constituents in the United States Senate. Ain't happening. So, his option, right now is he can continue with this kind of bullshit, or he can go take a hike. That's his options. And if I have an opportunity to, tell him that tomorrow, maybe I will.
Joining us now is retired Navy captain, now Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. He's a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, you're going to see Pete Hegseth tomorrow. It's going to be all 100 senators in a briefing. You might not be able in that large group to get that moment that you might want with him. But if you do, what would you say to him tomorrow?
Well, I usually try to keep these things pretty professional, not like him and some of the folks that work for him. If I was to talk to him about this, this brief is going to be about Venezuela, and I'll have some questions about that. But if I was to talk to him about this, I would tell him, hey, regardless of what you try to do to me, I'm going to continue to do my job. And you cannot go after U.S. citizens, retired service members, in my case, for something they said that was truthful. I said something the president didn't like. He said I should be hanged, executed. And then he got Pete Hegseth on this path that has now led to this letter of censure and this threat to reduce me in rank and take some of my retirement. So I would tell him that I would tell the Secretary of Defense that this is just not going to work. I'm not backing down. I'm not going to go away. I'm going to continue to do my job.
As you go forward, you're subject to this kind of letter simply because of your service in the military. Other senators who never served in the military, people like Donald Trump who never served in the military, could never receive a letter like this.
Yeah, because I'm retired, because I spent 25 years in the United States Navy, because I flew 39 combat missions. I almost got shot down a bunch of times. I had a missile blow up next to my airplane once. I flew in space 4 times. Because I had that long career of service, they think this gives them the right to go after me personally and to threaten me with criminal prosecution or execution because they just very simply didn't like what I said.
So when President Dwight Eisenhower warned against the military-industrial complex, people like Pete Hegseth, if they were around, might have tried to censure former General President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower.
I don't think Dwight Eisenhower would take any crap from Pete Hegseth, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Pete Hegseth is in no way qualified for this job. Donald Trump should have never offered him this job. I think it says a lot, possibly says a lot more about Donald Trump that Pete Hegseth is in this position than it says about Pete Hegseth.
Senator Mark Kelly, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me on, Lawrence.